Welcome to Learn Law Better, where today I'm going to tell you how professors grade law school essay exams. By learning how professors grade, you will better understand how the professor got to your grade. My name is Bo Baez. I have been teaching law students since the year 2000. I am an expert in grading methods, having spent years developing better ways of grading so that my students understand not only how they got their grade, but to give them the steps they need to improve. There are basically three different approaches to grading essay exams. The first approach is the holistic method. This is the professor who reads the exam and goes, that's a B. Or goes, that looks like an A, or that looks like a C. I'm not a big fan of holistic grading. It's sort of very old school, and thankfully, it's not that popular anymore. The most common approach to grading law school exams today is the use of grading rubrics. Now, there are two types. I'm going to discuss the first type, which is probably what you're going to encounter in your law school experience. This is where the professor usually gets an Excel spreadsheet or a Word document and writes down a list of issues that they're looking for. And there'll be a list of 10, 15, 20 items. And then we'll somehow assign a certain number of points for each issue. So whether you got offer on a contract exam, it might be 5 points. And if you got acceptance, that's 3 points. And on and on. And that's how they come up with their grade. The problem with this approach is when you go back and try to get feedback and you see you got 3 out of 5, you really don't know why you got only 3 points instead of the 5 points. You might get some kind of feedback that says, well, you need to try a little bit harder, you didn't know the law well. You leave that discussion not really understanding the professor's methodology. And part of this, unfortunately, there creates a lack of accountability, right? Because there are times when a professor reads through the exam with the student, if they do that with you, and the professor realizes they made a mistake. But because of the way the points are allocated, oftentimes a professor might just ignore the problem. And why do professors not change the grade when they realize they made a mistake? Many schools have a policy in place that prohibits faculty members from changing grades after the exam has been administered. And even if you're in a school where the professors can change their grades, it's not something the professor wants to do. It makes them look bad to realize, look, I made a mistake. I was grading 100 papers. Yours was buried in the pile and I was getting ready to go. You get the idea, right? Professors make mistakes. So that's one of the problems with that approach to grading, is that there can be inconsistency in grading. The final approach is a rubric-based approach, but it's based on core competency. So rather than just assigning points for offer, acceptance, or duty, or breach of duty, or whatever issue you're being tested on, the professor instead breaks it down beyond the issue. So yes, you're being tested on negligence or business associations or whatever the course is. But what happens then is the professor breaks it out for the student. So rather than just telling the student, look, you got 70% of the points on the negligence question, I break it out into 4 competencies, or the educational literature calls them dimensions, psychological dimensions. So then we ask the question, how did you perform in these various categories? So I break it down into 4 components. Component 1, issue statement, rule accuracy. Break that out into its own category. Did you get the rule right? Did you state it properly? Analysis. Do the facts blend in with the law appropriately? Organization, and then your basic writing skills. The rules of grammar. Does it read well? By breaking it out into those 4 components, students are then able to see how they performed not only on an issue-by-issue basis, but it's broken out so they see exactly what they have to do to improve. Because when your professor just says 3 out of 5 points, whether they tell you or not, somewhere inside that professor's head, they're going through those various components, whether they know it or not. You're being tested on those things. So that is a competency-based rubric. Very, very rare, hopefully to become more common in the future. So if you found this video useful, come to the website, learnlawbetter.com, where I have more information. I'm creating exam banks for you, free exams. You can look at them, download them, no obligation. If you want me to grade them, then there's a charge. And as part of that grading process, I will break down your answer into those 4 components that we just talked about. Then I can give you feedback as to how to improve. Because if you keep thinking your problem is with the substance, but it's not, then you never improve. Or if you think your problem is with analysis, but it's really with proper rule statements, you can't really take your exam to that next level, which is why most students always stay at the same level. They stay as a C student or a B student or that A- student. You need to figure out where the problem is happening. If we can diagnose it, you can improve. And then finally on the website, I do provide private tutoring services. I can help you succeed. I can help you take your game to the next level. Thank you very much.